What is up, everybody? It is Lo and the Vols ATB crew. We are back after a break last week. Tonight we have Vol Bandit and Brando. DR is out tonight, but he will be back next week. And tonight we are focusing on all football. We have some guests from Boiler Breakdown podcast as we lead up into tomorrow's bowl game against Purdue. So why don't you two introduce yourselves real quick?
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I'm Tanner Lee at TannerLee92 on Twitter. Purdue fan all my life. Purdue graduated in 2014. Season ticket holder for football. Parents got season tickets for basketball. So, yeah, looking forward to chatting about the Music City Bowl with you guys.
Cool. And I'm Evan, kind of very similar to Tanner. You know, we grew up together in the same small town, Indiana. Grew up Purdue fans thanks to our parents. Went to Purdue, graduated in 2015. Just like Tanner, season ticket holder, split them with Tanner, and then go to about every basketball game I can. I appreciate you guys having us on.
Very cool. Yeah, we were excited to have you guys on. Happy you were able to join us tonight. I guess we will just dive in with first thoughts leading into the matchup tomorrow. How is everyone feeling?
Not great.
Not good.
Not as good as I was when it was announced. We'll say that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, when it was originally. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
Say, because originally it was announced, as Purdue fans, we had the idea that our number one receiver or David Bell and our number one defensive end George Karlaftis were most likely going to sit out the game, but there was that slimmer of hope that they might play the game, but they both have NFL aspirations and will probably be a first and second round pick. So they opted out of the game, but then we've recently had some issues with guys not playing or apparently some grade issues, and so we've a pretty depleted roster. So hopefully it's not 2018 Music City Bowl back pretty like it was against Auburn.
Just had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tough. So just looking at this game, my first thoughts, just total first look at the game, bias aside, it looks like, the classic, typical bowl game we've seen since the bowl committee came to be. You take a 6 or 7 win SEC team, you put them against an 8 or 9 win Big 12, Big 10, ACC team. Should be a good matchup, you would think. If you look the last 4 or 5 years, the SEC's kind of dominated these kind of matchups, but currently the SEC's sitting 0-4 in bowl games. So hoping Tennessee can pull out the first win of the SEC bowl season. So that's something else we got riding for us.
Personally, I'm just glad that we're like one day away, and it's kind of like a fresh of breath there. Like we're like, okay, we're gonna make it. Because you're seeing all these games back to back, like the last few days, like an hour or 2 hours before kickoff, getting canceled. Obviously, like the last 2 days, y'all had like 2 or 3 more opt-outs compared to Dylan Bell and George Karlaftis, or I forgot his last name. But were those academics or were those?
Yeah, 2 academics. One guy's doubtful due to injury against the Indiana in the last game of the season. So if he can't go, they're down 5 starters. So
yeah. Well, I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Brenda.
No, you're chilling. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm just really pissed off that I can't go. We have 2 people out at work, so that was my first thoughts. I was really wanting to try and sneak in a day off, but I could not. So I will be missing the tailgate and the game. But I'm really excited with how many people are actually playing for us. So that was like my number one thing. I feel pretty pleased with our lineup, our depth chart.
Do you guys have any opt-outs at all?
We had Alontae Taylor, who already declared draft. And then what about Mays?
He announced today.
Yeah, he was trying to practice, but he never got back to getting that full health. He had a high right ankle sprain that's been bothering him like the last 4 or 5 weeks. And I think, it's not official yet, but it's trending more likely that he's just going to try to get healthy and play in one of those bowl games later on and try to just do what's best for him, which I don't blame him.
Yeah, that's super understandable. So I guess we've already kind of touched on the star players being out, but I guess on y'all on Purdue's side, you have way more. I assume you were pretty confident going into this matchup, but now, like, how much does this really affect your team? Do you even think it'll be the same team anymore, or anything even close?
Not really. I mean, going into it, it was definitely. I felt okay about the game. I wouldn't say I would. I remember when the spread came out. I think it was Purdue by like 4 or 5. I was really surprised. I thought for sure Tennessee was going to get the nod on the initial spread. Obviously, they just didn't assume that Karlaftis and Bell were going to be opting out because that was pretty much almost a given. It felt like. But yeah, I mean, we're down. Our number one receiver who had over 1,200 yards stand. He was like 3 receptions away from breaking
Big Ten wide receiver of the year. Yeah,
he was about 3 or 4 receptions away from breaking the Purdue single season receptions record. And now his number 2 receiver is out because of academic issues. So there's going to be a lot of new faces on the Purdue wide receiving core. Probably some freshmen who really haven't done much outside of special teams will probably get some playing time tomorrow, which would change. Our receiving our core is probably our deepest position, though, thankfully. So I'm not too worried about that. What I'm worried about is our defense. Because I know your guys' offense is pretty electric and just such a different style. Yeah, such a different style than what we're used to seeing in the Big Ten. Just how fast you guys play, probably closest to what we saw against Ohio State, and we definitely struggled against them. But I'm definitely worried about with our number 1 cornerback being out because of academic issues, most likely, and then. We also know another one of our cornerbacks has been injured most of the year, so we're down to pretty depleted secondary outside of we've got some pretty decent safeties, but our corners are pretty raw.
Yeah, that's what's got me more concerned. I mean, I know, of course, it's concerning not having your top 2 wide receivers, but still got a solid tight end core there. I expect Purdue to. I mean, they don't run the ball well to begin with.
Can't run the ball.
It wouldn't shock me to see Purdue throw 50 times, to be honest, tomorrow, and some trick plays and just air it out because their quarterback's been a stud for them. He announced he's coming back for a 6th year next year. Aiden O'Connell. He was second team All Big Ten behind Stroud from Ohio State. But defense is where I'm more concerned. I mean, you guys, like Evan said, are so up tempo. You average 3 plays per minute, which is pretty crazy. And I saw when doing some research, your margin of outscoring your opponents in the first quarter leads the country, I believe. So, I'm pretty nervous about the defense side of the ball, really, compared to offense. But
and with George Karlaftis being out, being a potential early first rounder, that's our defense was schemed around him. Offenses would have to scheme it, usually throwing, double teams at him. And so when you don't have him, the drop off is pretty significant from, him to the backup. So that'll be interesting because we struggled as it was getting, pressure on the quarterback pretty much all year. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of how our defensive, staff kind of schemes differently now that we don't have, big number 5 on the line.
Absolutely. Bandit, how do you feel about a couple of our guys being out?
Yeah, so just to hit on the star players portion there. For UT, Cade Mays, kind of like Lo was just saying, I'm surprised we haven't had more of the quote star players opt out. I don't put a lot of stock into Cade Mays being out this game. He missed a few games this year anyways. And I don't really put a lot into Lante Taylor being out anyways because David Bell isn't playing. I would say looking at players missing this game, I've got Carl. Is it Carl Levis? Is that the correct pronunciation?
I believe so.
Okay. I've got him down as probably the most notable for both teams being out. I guess that's a question I want to ask for our Purdue guys here. Would you rather have David Bell and Carl Levis for this game, or hang on, that's going to be a dumb way to word this. You guys go ahead. I've got Carl Levis being the most notable out for the game. The 2 guys missing on UT side of the ball, I don't put a lot of stock into it.
Yeah, I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you would have asked me earlier this year on the UT side with with more guys on the offensive line for Tennessee, like when Cade was out earlier and not getting playing time when they did, I probably would have been a lot more worried, especially like on the Alante too, because Turnage and Kamal Hayden on our defensive side, they're honestly, in my opinion, two guys that could have been starting, but you're playing behind Alante Turner and Warren Burrell and some other guys. And when Brandon Turnage did play, he won SEC Defensive Player of the Week his 1 week of the season he did start. So if he comes in, I'm not really too much worried, just like Bandit said. Probably Cade being out worries me more just because on the line you have like two JUCO guys that are just not getting their feet wet in the SEC against a defense like that. I'm more worried about Purdue's defense. I know the Purdue guys said that they were worried about their defense against our offense, but I'm more worried about their defense than our offense, just because when I only read that George and the starting DB was out, I didn't know about the second DB, but just looking at the stats, like they held their own all year against really good teams. Their point differential was really good defensively. And I think George and that DB being out for academic is honestly like way bigger than I probably thought earlier coming into this pod.
Yeah, I think I can't speak for you, Tan, but I think if I would have either Karlaftis or Bell, I'd probably want Karlaftis just because, it's a toss-up. I think just because I think our defense takes such a bigger step back without him than our offense would without Bell, just because I like our receiving core, even though they're unproven. I love our tight ends. But yeah, I would kind of go into your point, Brandon. Our defense definitely played much better than we expected going into the season. I'm sure you did not pay attention to Purdue football last year. I don't know why you would have, but our defense was awful.
Oh my God.
We had a first-year defensive coordinator, and he was out after 1 year because it was just he was scheming a defense that for players that weren't on the team. Like it was awful, and it was awful on the field and off the field apparently because they fired him after a year and a COVID year at that. But they brought in a really good defensive staff. I think we've got 3 co-defensive coordinators, which was kind of funny at the start of the season, but it worked out because our defense has definitely been a weak point last couple of years, and I felt like our defense definitely kept us in a lot of games. The games that we did lose most of the time, I feel like our defense kept us in it. Our offense just struggled, but that was before we made a QB change. So yeah, I like our defense, but I am still worried just because your offense is so different compared to what we saw throughout the
I would say, I'm not too concerned about the couple guys we have out. Just because our core of a team in general was just really a bunch of guys kind of thrown together and no one really knew what to expect. My main concern was just if Hooker was returning or not. And then once we knew that and that he would be back to play, I felt really happy regardless of if Taylor left and if Mays was a go or not. Those are totally understandable picks, by the way. Like, I understand getting healthy, trying to go make more money in the draft. So I guess we kind of jumped into it, but like UT offense versus y'all defense, y'all pretty much covered that. Does anyone have anything else to add about our offense versus Purdue defense?
Yeah, just to keep feeding off that, like you guys, I was kind of surprised these guys said that they were worried about their defense because the research I looked at, you guys gave up 59 points to Ohio State and 30 to Wisconsin. I think tomorrow Tennessee scores between those two scores.
I would agree.
I'm not saying we put up 58. I don't think it'll be 31 either. I think we'll put up between those two scores. But I was when I went back and looked, I was really impressed with your guys' defense. Three teams held us to single-digit scores.
We'll say one of those is UConn, so we can throw that one out because UConn is an embarrassment to football. So
UConn was the goose egg. The goose egg. But when I went back and looked, I was impressed by what I saw in your guys' defense. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, though, like you guys said, Tennessee's speed will be too much. That goes along with me saying I don't think we put up as many points on you guys as Ohio State did. But it just felt like every game for Tennessee this year, you left the game saying, okay, Josh Heupel, he hasn't opened up the playbook yet. It just always felt like there was more plays to be had, and I think we'll really see the full playbook tomorrow. I mean, I don't know what else you would save it for. And then, that's all I got on UT offense versus Purdue defense.
A little off-topic tangent here. Were you guys worried at all about him going to Oklahoma after that job opened up?
I wasn't worried.
Nah, not at all.
Okay. That was I have a coworker who lives down in Nashville. He's a huge Vols fan, and he wasn't worried either. So I just didn't know if that was the consensus among Vols fans.
Yeah, I always thought it was kind of ridiculous, the rumors that are being spread. I really saw no reason why he would take that job at that point.
It can only happen to a school so many times. Like eventually, it's just the boy that cries wolf is like, guys, it's not happening.
It's finally going away.
Yeah.
Slowly
but surely.
Yeah.
Just basically touching on what Bandit said with their defense. I was looking at their stats, and I don't know how much of this came off of George and him not playing to how this would affect it, but their offense is only converted 37% on third down against Purdue's defense. That's, something with our up-tempo offense, how they, key on it. Getting that first down in this offense, the Tennessee's offense, it's key to how they move down the ball, like down the field in each drive. Like, if we don't get that first down, you'll notice that we're probably not moving at the speed that we can every single time. So I think that third down defense, if there is a chance that Purdue's defense, which I personally think that they will show up, getting that first down and not getting the third down where that defense can get dangerous and, maybe try to make a play, get off the field. I also noticed that their rush defense was pretty good, and that kind of scares me with, having Tyon Evans depart. We only have a two-back backfield with Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, so I'm curious to see if maybe like Lenneth gets involved more, or you have D. Beckwith maybe get some reps, which probably will never happen because he's invisible out there. But, I'm curious to see how we'll run the ball to maybe try to balance it out. I think their defense, I'm still more concerned about their defense than I am their offense, just because I'm scared. But, I think if we can get that speed going in the tempo, then it'll be all right.
So I think one thing that I was just kind of focused on is really just our pace. I don't know if Heupel is going to try and attack them like right out of the gate like he has sometimes with his play calls, and that could lead into us just running into some like really quick 3-and-outs if we can't make those plays early on. That's kind of what I'm sensing for some reason. Just if we aren't fully ready to go, I could see us having to kind of depend on the backs a little bit to slow the game down. Ultimately, I think we'll do okay, but I guess I'm kind of different. I am more concerned about Purdue's offense just because of their quarterback. Really, I guess I'm split, or I'm the odd one out. Guys, I'm more concerned about their offense. Their quarterback is pretty legit, and even though he doesn't have his go-to guys, I assume there's still some more talented guys. What do y'all think?
Like Evan mentioned earlier, I mean, our wide receiver room is our deepest position, I'd say, on the team. But and Aiden's been playing terrific, especially in the second half of the season. But a lot of that was because David Bell and Milton Wright were kind of his safety nets. So now without your 1 and 2 option, I mean, your number 3 wide receiver becomes your number 1 option. And 1, 2, 3, those guys have played all season. But when you get into the 4th wide receiver to 5th wide receiver, like Evan hit on earlier, we're going to see some freshmen or some redshirt freshmen that we've never seen before, which I guess is good for going into next year to get them experience. But from a Purdue fan trying to win a bowl game, it's kind of terrifying. I think in Purdue's passing game, it's going to be key to get the tight ends involved. They have 2 pretty good tight ends, but it's going to be key giving Aiden some time and getting the tight ends involved, because I'm not confident Purdue's going to be able to run the ball against Tennessee at all.
Yeah, we haven't, even against probably the worst rushing defenses we've played this year, we still haven't really run the ball well at all.
That's something we talked about when we had Kyle Charters on. I know there's a lot of games where you guys, like you mentioned earlier, throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. And we kind of went back and forth on whether or not that was by design. Like, do you guys throw the ball so well, or do you not want to throw it that often and you wish you had a better passing game? And he kind of said that he thought Purdue wished they had a better passing game. They didn't want to lean on the passing game that much.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, they had both their starting two backs. I call them starting two backs because it seemed like they rotated almost every game we started last year. But then Xander Horvath went down in the second game of the season to UConn. He broke his leg, and he was out 5 games. He's back now. So they got their two backs back, but it just whatever they try in the run game, that hasn't seemed to work. No matter what, no matter what they scheme, no matter how creative they get, no matter if they do some reverses with the wide receivers. It's just that's kind of been the consistency of the Jeff Brom era, really. Maybe aside from his first year in 2017, Purdue just has not been able to establish a run game, and that's even concerning. In the transfer portal, they're trying to get a back for next year, and because they're losing their main back. So I don't know. I mean, Jeff Brom, he's a quarterback himself. I mean, of course, his brother Brian Brom, who's offensive coordinator, he's a quarterback himself. So they love to throw the ball and air it out. But I do agree with Kyle Charters. I think they would like to have a more established run game than they do.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see us, utilize, some of our smaller receivers. You'll see Jackson Anthrop. He's kind of usually a slot guy. We'll kind of some dump offs to him. It's almost like we're setting up the pass with the pass. We'll just do short little dump offs that basically could equate to a run. But yeah, our run game is pretty non-existent, and that's probably due just because our offensive line was a big question mark coming into this season. It wasn't probably going to the summer, but then we had some guys who injured to the point of where they just retired from football, and so they really depleted the offensive line depth. And that definitely was a problem early on, but the offensive line improved over the season, so we'll kind of see. Hopefully, they're able to get some of the guys back who've been a little banged up for this bowl game.
All of that makes a lot of sense. I assume you guys know that I haven't really watched any Purdue football, but I took what I heard from Kyle Charters. I had to throw that out there. So Bandit, I assume you guys, like I said, you guys aren't worried really at all about their offense?
I wouldn't say I'm not worried at all. I'll take this as a transition to the UT defense versus Purdue offense. I think UT will give up some home run shots tomorrow. To stick with baseball terms, I'm not really worried about the in the park stuff. I don't think the run game will be there. It hasn't been for them all year. The 10, 20-yard stuff, I'm not really worried about that either. But with Alontae Taylor out, it's going to take somebody stepping up. I do, and my final score reflects it. I think we give up some home run shots. I think probably anything over 40 yards for Purdue probably goes for a touchdown. One of these guys mentioned them throwing 50 plus times tomorrow. If they get that mindset and they get a couple hot shots down the field, look out. It could be a game.
Yeah, big thing with our quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, is he's not mobile at all, really. He's very much a statue back there. So I think that really is going to key on if our offensive line can hold off the defensive line or any sort of pressure you guys bring. If they can do that, I think he'll definitely have time to throw. I like our receivers, but yeah, if you guys are getting pressure, that could be spell trouble because he's not a mobile guy in the slightest, really.
And one thing I wanted to add, you guys kind of talked about Heupel probably opening up the playbook more than you've seen this season. Jeff Brom's known as one of the more innovative play callers in college football, and now with a month to prepare, I think we're going to see him open up the playbook a lot tomorrow too, and probably see some trick plays. I think both sides, we could see some trick plays from both sides. It could be entertaining from that aspect.
So, and that's going with that. I can see tomorrow, if Purdue, I've got down when Purdue's on offense, third downs are going to be critical. I can see you guys setting up on like a 3rd and 3 with the way your guys' run game has been all year. I can see y'all dropping a 70-yard bomb on 3rd and 3 for sure.
I absolutely can too. And the other thing is, our third down defense has not really been our greatest suit by any means. 3rd and 4th down, really. We've given up some massive plays all year. And with a quarterback like y'all have, if the receiver can run the route and he can get the ball there, I could see us really giving up some big plays. So that's where I'm just a little iffy. And I do think that the score will be a little bit closer than what people are expecting.
That's the one thing about Aiden is he's pretty darn accurate. I'm gonna jinx him now by saying
you
this,
are.
but
Yeah,
I don't think he's thrown an interception for 6 straight games now, which has been like a Purdue record, school record. But with that said, that's been with his number 1 and 2 wide receivers. Now he doesn't have those two, so he might force a few more balls where he doesn't need to. But yeah, it's hard to, when you watch Aiden O'Connell, from a fan's perspective that's not a Purdue fan, you wouldn't believe that he was originally a walk-on quarterback and had no Division I offers coming out of high school, because he throws a pretty ball. But it's kind of mind-numbing to Evan and I how he didn't have the job in the first place. It was Jack Plummer, who's now entered the transfer portals, going to Cal next year.
Well, I was someone who wanted Jack Plummer to be the starter just because he was more mobile, and I thought our offensive line was going to be able to hold up, and I was definitely proven wrong.
Yeah, we both didn't look too smart there, but yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I'm just really looking forward to the game. I'm glad we're only a day away.
So that was something. The interceptions, I hit on that with Kyle. Aiden O'Connell, he was. I think he's got 8 interceptions on the year. All 8 came in the first 6 games. No interceptions in the last 6. So I am interested to see if Tennessee can get a pick tomorrow. Kyle kind of chalked that up to him coming in late in games, those first 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was playing in trash time. It didn't really matter.
Or he would come in, like I know against Notre Dame, our offense was doing nothing, and we
yeah,
had to do something.
I think that was the 3 interception game.
Yeah, he tried to force some, and Wisconsin got him into 2 or 3 picks too. So yeah.
So yeah, if Tennessee can come up with an interception or 2, get him flustered, that would obviously be huge for us.
We'll have to depend on football. You guys, though, to do that is the thing. We're used to depending on Taylor for those. He won't be there. So someone's going to have to step it up. I'm sure they have the ability to. It's just, will they? I don't know.
It's going to be a fun game.
It will. Brando, you have anything to add before we move forward?
I was going to say, yeah, I kind of agree with you when you talk about the third down ability. When you go back and you look at games like Ole Miss and Alabama, when it was close going down to the final minutes, I look back and I see those games like the third down plays where teams were able to convert on like simple passes across the middle, or just because the defense being out there so long because of the offense. Like our third and fourth down defense was awful, and Bandit touched on it. They barely turned the ball over. I think I was looking at their stats. They don't even average 1 turnover a game. It's like 0.8. 340 yards passing to their 80 yards rushing a game. And obviously the way they're talking, it sounds like they're going to pass more, which I'm expecting. To be able to pass 340 yards a game, like that doesn't just come like easily. You have a quarterback, and especially, maybe they're starting wide receivers out. Dylan Bell had 2 or 3 games, I think, where he had over 200 yards receiving. I don't expect that to slow down at all. I may have been worried more about their defense, but I still am worried about that offense, just because when you're putting up that kind of passing numbers against a team that's a defense like ours, that's on the field as much as they are, it kind of just worries me. But I think we're.
I hope y'all do. I hope y'all throw it 60 times tomorrow. I want to see a shootout from hell. I want 47-45.
It's going to be like probably the most road environment for any bowl team coming down there to Nashville. So if I'm Jeff Brom, I'm going to open up the playbook. I'm saying we got nothing to lose. Let's just throw it all over the field, see what happens.
Yeah, I think if Purdue can survive the first quarter with not being down, $1 billion like they were to Auburn in 2018, I think we can have a chance. But if you guys are, Tanner and I were both at the game. Great seats, great environment. Nashville was amazing the night before, and then first drive of Auburn, their receiver just left our cornerback
Slayton,
in
who plays
the
for the Giants now.
He just absolutely tore us apart, and it was over very quickly. They could have hung 100 on us if they wanted to, but thankfully I think we have a lot better depth now and better athletes than we did back then. That was Brom's second year, but still, it's definitely going to be tough hanging with some SEC talent and speed.
Sure.
I've actually watched that Purdue-Auburn game twice this week.
And,
that first touchdown by Auburn, it reminds me of, like I said, I don't know how much you guys have went and looked at us, but if you go look at the Tennessee-Kentucky game from this year, we scored on the first play, and it reminds me of that first Auburn touchdown from 2018.
So, anyone else have anything to add about all of that before we talk? I want to go into a betting segment. So, does anyone have any final thoughts, final game, in-game thoughts before we go forward?
How's your all special teams?
Very good.
Very good.
Lowe's hit or miss on this segment. When they're good, they're good.
Yeah, when they're good, they're really, really good. I don't remember which game it was. Was it Ole Miss where Mike Eckler sent out Trayvon Flowers and Bayless there at the same time wearing number 1, and they had to both come off the field? We didn't have a punt returner out there. That's one of the special teams moments I remember that was just awful. But then you have moments where Bayless took some back to the house later in the year against South Alabama and Vanderbilt, and when they're Mike Eckler, he does a good job when he wants to, getting them fired up. So when they're locked in, they're locked in. But when they're not, man, it's just.
I've been up and down all season. In the beginning, I was dang, special teams is my favorite unit. And then when that blunder came and they were wearing the same jersey, I was so freaking pissed. I was like, you're kidding me right now. But Coach Eckler is man, someone put on Twitter the other day that Tony Vitello has some competition, and I must say I agree for the ladies of all Twitter.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Vitello's still my number 1, but Coach Eckler is looking pretty good too. But hit or miss.
I don't know if it's the same play you guys are talking about. The play you're talking about where they went out with the same number, is that the same play as against Florida when we just didn't have anybody back to receive the punt?
Yeah, I think it was either Florida or Ole Miss, one of the two.
Maybe
both.
You remember that?
Maybe both.
So I can think of plays like that and want to kick our special teams in the ass. I was down there in Gainesville and punt was totally returnable. There was just nobody back there. But I could I also remember the first time Pitt punted against us and we blocked it. And Mike Eckler said after the game that was, something they had seen on film and they thought they could exploit it. And they did the first punt and they put it up 10-0. So when I think about us having this much time to prepare, if there's a coach that I think could spot something he could exploit, it would be Eckler on special teams.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah, our special teams, I don't know if you agree with this, Evans. It's been very mediocre.
Yeah.
I feel like the coverage teams have been pretty good, but as far as the kicking game itself, we had a transfer kicker from Samford, and I think he didn't miss the first 4 or 5 games, but then I barely remember him making a field goal second half of the season. In our punting situations, it's just been a mess all year. We can't find a consistent punter. We keep rotating 2 different ones. So, yeah, that's definitely not part of the game to keep an eye on tomorrow.
I'm telling you guys, I want Tennessee to win, but I'm hoping there's no punts tomorrow.
That'd be okay with me. Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm all here for a shootout.
Sign me up.
That would be awesome. So talking shootout. So right now on FanDuel, the over-under, it's set at 64.5. I don't know if you guys bet at all, but I sports bet every week. It's kind of becoming a problem. I want to know, what would you pick, over, under? Where would you feel comfortable at? Give us your thoughts on that.
I'd bet the over. I don't bet just because I would bet with my heart way too much more than my head. But I'm hoping it's over just because I want to see a shootout badly. I was hoping in that 70. I'd love to see it get up in the 80 range too. As a close game, I should say, not a blowout.
I'd probably go with the over as well. I think that's a pretty fair line, though, because I'm thinking it's going to be about 68, 69 total points. Both teams probably in the 30s, but I'm with you, Evan. I do bet from time to time, but I usually think with my heart too much over my brain, and it gets me in trouble. So,
Bandit, what about you?
So I've got sorry, I thought I was muted and I was going for a burp there. Hey, you guys still there?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Let me get this pulled back up. I just missed a FaceTime on my MacBook. That's terrible for the pod. John Ackery, if you're listening, that was you, dude. So I've got. I would take the over at 64 or 64.5. I've got the over under set at 70.
Very good, Brando.
I guess I'm gonna be the different one. I personally, I have the under. I'm gonna be the statistical guy. Purdue, they're averaging currently like 28 points per game, with the Vols averaging around 39. I just personally think their offensive opt-outs might, slow, like maybe affect that. I have it right under the 64 point spread. I have maybe like 62. So it's like right there close, just barely.
Okay. I feel comfortable. Like, I agree with Tanner, actually. I said they would probably, we'll get to our final score predictions, but I was thinking 69 or so total points, 70 maybe. I wouldn't take anything different, though, than like 64.5. And if I was to bet, I like to bet the alt over unders. So I like to go just a little bit off and maybe go 2 points below or above what's set just to be safe. But honestly, I still end up getting screwed. The other night, I bet on an NFL game and I bet over 47, and the total was 46.
Of course.
Oh my God.
Never fails.
Brutal.
It never fails. Those parlays, guys, I'm telling you.
Yeah. God.
Honestly, I would be confident taking the over at 64.5. So I guess we can kind of go around and hear everyone's final score predictions. We'll start with you, Tanner and Evan.
Yeah, I mean, I might not sound too optimistic, but then whenever it comes to predictions, I my heart won't let me pick against Purdue, of course. And if I did, Boiler Nation, all the listeners would
picked
come
against
after
us a
me.
couple times on our podcast this year, though.
I have, and usually it was reverse psychology, and it worked.
Yeah.
So with that said, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm hoping for a good game, hoping for a rather high-scoring game, entertaining game. No punts would be fun. I'll go Purdue 35-34.
Similar to Tanner, but I want to like Bandit. I want to shoot out. And I think on last night when we recorded a podcast and kind of did a little preview for that. I think I did 42-41 Purdue. Same with Tanner. Like no matter how cautious I am about the game, I can't not pick against Purdue. So I picked 42-41.
All right. What about you, Bandit?
So I've got it, and this is just nothing against Purdue. This is what I've said since the beginning. I've got it Tennessee 42, Purdue 28. And I
think I saw a couple Tennessee blogs had something pretty similar. A lot of that kind of 14 to 17 point spread. Felt like.
Like I said, I think y'all hit the deep ball for 3 or 4 touchdowns. I just coming from an SEC fan base, I just can't imagine putting together drives with no run game, and that's just where I'm at, man.
Yeah, I have it pretty much in that same area of spread. I got the Vols 38-24. I think it'll be like a 1-score game most of the game, and then there's going to be like that one drive that just comes key for the Vols offense to maybe get it more than like an extra breath of fresh air and try to close it out. But I think overall Purdue's offense is going to show up, and it's going to be key on third down what they can do, like Bandit said earlier. I think it could be really close.
I think I don't want to speak. I'm sorry. I was going to say I don't want to speak for Tam, but if we can, based off what we saw last time Purdue was in Nashville, if we can keep it respectable, I think Purdue fans would be fairly happy because that loss was definitely. We had a decent. I mean, it was a 6-6 year. But we had an awesome win against Ohio State when they were number 2, which was the last loss Urban Meyer had in college, which we won't let him live it down. But that, I mean, we lost by $1 billion, and it definitely left a lot of bad taste in Purdue fans' mouths all off season going to the next season. So if we can just avoid something like that, I think we had one of our best seasons since 2007. So if we can just not get embarrassed, I think we'll have a lot of optimism going into next year.
I think that is a very awesome way of looking at it. Okay, think about it. Like, Nashville is a super fun city. Either way, you have something to go do afterwards. I think so. My final, I said 45-24. However, I think that the first half and maybe up through the third quarter, will be like really, really close. And I think you guys will kind of get a couple breakaway touchdowns on us. But I'm confident that Heupel will come out by the fourth quarter and have like one or two just really fast like bombs down the field, and kind of take the score up a little bit. I'm hopeful anyway. But like I said, I do think there's potential for the game to be really, really close. So I'll be watching from work, sadly, but at least I can have the TV on while I'm treating patients. So
there you go.
Anyone else? I'm trying to get us off in time. This might sound a little selfish, but basketball.
You got a basketball game tonight. Our game just got over before this podcast. So
I had some info about that basketball-wise. I don't know if y'all saw because we've been doing the pod, but Tennessee had some breaking news. John Fulkerson and Kennedy Chandler are both going to be out for this game for COVID reasonings. So, yeah, tough break. There was some rumors that it was going to be 4. Turned out to only be 2, which I guess you can kind of look there and be like, all right. But it's going to be hard, definitely.
Is Ziegler playing?
Yeah. That'd be all right.
That's all I need to hear.
He's one of my favorites, probably my favorite on the team right at the moment. I love him. But before we let you guys go, a few weeks ago we asked like some followers to send us some questions for like a couple of these crossover pods that we were doing. And I feel like you guys can take a couple of these questions. They're a little bit wild because we have some
That's
crazy.
All right.
Tennessee fans, all Twitter is no joke. We've learned.
We learned that.
That's going to be a soundbite.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in. At Trooper_Vol, he said, "How many murders has Purdue Pete committed?"
We can't answer that.
He is a pretty scary looking mascot. I mean, yeah, he's just blank face all the time.
And I love that the athletic department's finally embracing the creepiness. Before it was something they never really did, but now they'll use his eyes. When the opposing team is kicking towards our jumbotron, they'll just put a giant Purdue Pete face, focusing on his eyes on the jumbotron.
Yep.
It's probably at least 30, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
What'd you say? 30?
30.
He's been around for a while.
Yeah, yes.
Body count's getting up there.
Yeah, you should see some of the if you ever want to entertain yourself, just go back and look at some of the original iterations of Purdue Pete. It is terrifying. It is nightmare fuel.
Nightmares.
Sure. All right. Well, very good. I guess that's more than I expected.
You heard it from Evan.
I know.
30.
Dang it. You're going to be 31 after he hears this pod.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you better watch yourself.
So, next question. At Jesus Vols, he asked, do they, as in you two, I suppose, worry about karma demanding a realignment after all of those improbable 3-point baskets in the 2019 Elite Eight?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ryan Klein.
Clear fouls.
Hey, were you guys there for that game?
No, I was there for our Elite Eight game.
Yeah, me too.
We both were. But for that game, I was working. I was actually in a hotel in Central Illinois, trying not to get kicked out of the hotel during that game because that was a hell of a game.
I was sitting side court with tickets for the next game, and I sold them to an Oregon fan behind me.
We always have crazy battles with Tennessee in basketball. I thought we were going to link up earlier this year in that Atlantic Sun.
Mohegan Sun,
Mohegan Sun, not Langston,
Right.
So we're about karma. Yeah, I do.
Oh, God.
I feel like it kind of already lined up that way with all the players that y'all have out.
I know.
It's just meant to be.
I was reading earlier today, the last time Purdue and Tennessee have met on the football field was the 1984 Blue Bonnet Bowl. Purdue won that game, and then their basketball team went on to the Final Four. So hopefully that's a good omen.
Oh, man.
I'll trade that off again.
And then last question, at JKIN Memphis, he wants us to ask if you guys know what WGWTFA means.
Yep.
What does it mean?
God.
Is this a clean podcast or not?
No.
No.
Fucking ass.
Yeah. Daryl Taylor.
I remember because a friend of mine who's a Tennessee fan, I remember him showing me a video years ago, just randomly, and for whatever reason that stuck with me forever.
Oh man!
So whenever I see it,
it's a good catchphrase.
Yeah, I saw that in our mentions a couple times after when Vol Twitter went after us. So I saw it a couple times. So yeah.
Honestly, that's like one of my favorite catchphrases of all time.
Yeah.
I love it so much; it'll stick forever. Let's see. Does anyone have any final thoughts or anything else to say before we close out this evening?
Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy. So we're already talking about how ruthless Vol Twitter is. I don't know if y'all have seen today, but the timeline is filled with your coach's Ron English's comments about Hendon Hooker.
I did not see
about
what he said. What he said? Oh God, what he said?
He said that Hendon Hooker is only a good passer from 10 yards, 10-yard passes, and anything other than that. He was talking about how he's only 40%, which is true. The stats is not wrong, but Vol Twitter has been erupting about it, trying to prove a point, saying that we're going to try to come out there and maybe throw it deep, or Hendon's going to have something to prove. I've seen some hype videos of people taking it, so I just wanted to see what y'all thought about Ron English and how he is there.
He usually is a soft-spoken guy. He doesn't talk to the media very often. I mean, he came from, I think he was defensive backs coach at Florida previously, so maybe that's where that comment came from. I don't know, maybe some hatred towards Tennessee or something. But
he was fired from Eastern Michigan for saying some outlandish stuff, so maybe that's why he hadn't no sense. But
could be.
It scaled down immensely. It reminded me of the Ravens defensive coordinator saying some stuff about Joe Burrow.
Usually doesn't end well. So
I was like either A, I think I said either A, this dude's going to regret saying this, or B, he already knows Purdue's opting out of the bowl game.
Oh my God.
But we had that years ago. I can't remember what year it was, Tanner, but Purdue fans and really a lot of Big Ten fans alike despise Nebraska's Scott Frost just because he's just always sticks his foot in his mouth. But there was years ago where I think Nebraska was terrible, and he said leading up to the Purdue game that Purdue was definitely a winnable game, even though they were awful that year. And Purdue kind of took it to him. And one of our running back, Markel Jones, was caught on the mic walking by during like the post game, handshake or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, that was a winnable game, all right." So
I'll never understand coaches saying stuff like that pregame because they're not on the field. I mean, you can talk all the smack you want. Come to game day, you don't know what your guys are going to be feeling.
Right. It gives them bulletin board material. It's just stupid.
Yeah, or you might have a guy on your own team that's trying to get you fired, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to show him."
Yeah,
he's been throwing that mouth.
Yeah.
That is so true. I haven't been on Twitter all day. That kind of pissed me off, like in real time.
I made a whole hype video about it. Pissed me off, but
oh my God. Well, I hope Hendon Hooker shows his ass.
And it's like Brandon said. It's not that what he said wasn't true. It just seems like an odd time to bring it up.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
Where Vol Twitter will see it and we're looking at all the bowl comments. The one thing we do well is use the Twitter feed, and yeah,
that's for damn sure.
Fired up. Yep.
And read receipts, man.
Oh yeah.
But all jokes aside, I'm glad y'all came on.
Yeah,
appreciate you having us.
Good sports about it.
Yeah,
like I said, we're hoping for a good game tomorrow.
Party at main event.
Party at main event parking.
Where you guys broadcasting from? You guys,
I think both of them are in Knoxville. Okay. I'm in the mid-state.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we're kind of a little bit spread out. I'm a little further out. I'm not from Knoxville, but I work in Knoxville, so it's all good. But yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been a lot of fun. Fun to shoot back and forth, and maybe we'll match up at some other point, basketball or something like that.
I am sick of seeing you on basketball.
March Madness. If we get a matchup, y'all for sure welcome back on.
Absolutely.
Hey, maybe some baseball. Maybe.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh yeah.
If they ever align, you never know.
Yeah.
Baseball's been an up and down thing for Purdue lately. But yeah, I mean basketball. That's definitely, being from the state of Indiana. We love basketball, so we'd love to shoot that too.
Mm-hmm.
So So neither of you guys coming down for the game tomorrow?
No, I was thought about it. Especially, I have a buddy who lives in Nashville, and I think he's going to the game now. But it was just ticket prices. You guys were jacking up prices. You guys were invading
There's still time.
Yeah,
there's still time.
But
you snag tickets on StubHub right now. Come down and tailgate with you.
Is the stadium gonna be checkered? Is that the consensus?
No.
No, I think it was like a plan, but I don't think it's really possible. The university's pushing for a little orange out instead, so I think it'll be just a bunch of orange. I know the tailgates will be mighty packed, bright and early, probably 8 a.m. National time.
When Tam and I were there in 2018, it was cool from our standpoint because we were on Broadway the night before, and it was probably 50-1 Purdue fans versus Auburn fans, but then they all showed up for the game.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely going to be a different.
Oh, God.
Nashville's filled with orange. It's insane. I've seen a lot of Purdue people downtown. I was downtown last night. I was actually surprised how many Purdue fans made the trip. I knew people from Indiana were crazy, but hey, they're out here. They're here.
Yeah, I think a lot of Purdue fans too were disappointed with the bowl pick just because this is the last time we were in a bowl was the New York City Bowl. I think we were hoping to be out west in either Phoenix or Vegas. So I was a little worried that the support wasn't going to be there. But it sounds like a lot of Purdue fans made the trip. For me, it's Nashville, so it's always a good time.
Very cool. Hey, Bandit, do you want to give the exact tailgate details before we close out?
Yeah, I'm screwing around with these banners here.
I
know. So we will be at main event parking. If you just go to Google and type in main event parking, it will pull it up. Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever you use. But the actual address is on a road. 14. Small number, 14 James Robertson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee, 37213. And, we set up at 7 a.m. for all the Vols home games. I called out there this morning. They don't open the gate till 10 a.m. So if you're there before 10 a.m., you will be standing on the sidewalk because I won't even be there. So, well, I hadn't even thought about it. That's Central Time. That's 10 a.m. Central Time, so that'll be 11 here. 11 Eastern Time. Wow. I'm just keep racking up more sleep hours tonight. So, 11 Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central Time. We'll be at main event parking. If you've already bought a parking pass through the Music City Bowl, it's directly across from Lot A. I don't know if they just sold Lot A first, but 90% of the people I've talked to that have a parking pass are in Lot A. We are directly across the intersection. We got there for half of what you paid. So walk on over, and enjoy the tailgate with us.
All right. Very well then. Evan, Tanner, thanks again coming out from your podcast. And what is it? Is it Boiler Break or Boiler Breakdown?
Boiler Breakdown.
Okay.
Our Twitter's Boiler Break Pod.
Yeah.
I don't know why any Vols ATB listeners would want to go listen to y'all. I'm just kidding. But anyone who wants to listen at Boiler Breakdown, catch them on Twitter and catch their podcast. And thanks again for coming. It's been a blast. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a great one.
You too.
Mm-hmm.
Go Vols.
Go Vols. Hey, beat Bama.
Yeah, beat Bama.